Hello, good evening, and welcome to Ghana Tonight. We're live morning news up here at Adesawe Kanda, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, and all across the world on 3news.com. On Ghana Tonight this evening, we put a spotlight on what's next for the National Identification Authority following the extension of the SIM re-registration exercise to September 30. I'll tell you the details in there. The National Identification Authority will be joining us on the show, as well as concerns that have been raised about the 5 cities service charge for the self-registration app that is yet to be launched. What's the legal basis for this? Stay with me. We'll get into it. Also tonight, Ghana confirms first monkeypox-related death. We engage our experts on the state of affairs to curb the spread of the virus. Well, the Association of Law Students are raising concerns about some decisions taken with respect to the examinations and the admission process. We'll get into it this evening as the factions on both sides of this matter joined us in studio. Stay with me. This is Ghana Tonight. We're very interactive this evening. Let's hear from you. And also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook. Connect with us. My name is Alfred Okansi. Now, let's take our Ghana brief for tonight.
TV3 situational report reveals low turnout at some registration centers following the extension of SIM re-registration deadline by 2 months. The National Identification Authority says 2.7 million Ghanaians are yet to register for their Ghana card as telecommunications company fear losing customers if subscribers fail to re-register their SIM cards. Leadership of Law Students Association is raising red flags over new modalities on entrance examination and other admission procedures. Consumers may be compelled to resort to charcoal as gas tanker drivers sit-down strike by operators enters day 2.
This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. And stay with me. Let's start off with this. Now, Ghana has recorded its first death of monkeypox since the outbreak of the disease in the country. The Upper East Regional Director of Health, Dr. Emmanuel Kofi Dochi, says the case confirmed in the region on Friday, July 22, tested positive at the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research after suspicion. Now, the confirmed case was seen on the 22nd of July 2022 at the Upper East Regional Hospital with a history of fever and skin rash. Now, here's how the dashboard looks like at the moment. I'm going to show you on the screen right now briefly, and so you know exactly what the state of affairs really looks like right now with the monkeypox outbreak. That's what you see behind me now. So you get to know exactly what the case of affairs is. This is the dashboard. Ghana has confirmed so far 34 cases with 1 casualty, as we do know now. Also, the affected regions, Bono East, Eastern Upper West, and the Ashanti region. The hotspot is the Greater Accra region. There's a reason why the Greater Accra region is the hotspot, because about 70% of these cases, the monkeypox cases, have been recorded in the Greater Accra region. That's also been a source of worry indeed for many. Now, we'll find out from the Ghana Health Service what strategy they put in place, especially communication, to deal with this. Now, take a look at the Marburg virus as well. This is what we do know about the Marburg virus, the dashboard, how it looks like with the Marburg virus in this country. For the Marburg virus, we have so far, unfortunately, 2 people who have died as a result of the Marburg virus, and then also some 3 cases that have been recorded in the country at the moment. And we know that the 2 cases of the Marburg virus is as a result of a father and a son. That's a 1 year, 3 months old child, and then also the father who is about 26-year-old. Now, it was earlier reported that the 24-year-old, that's mother of this son who has died, and the wife of the man who has died, who is 24 years old, survived. Earlier had been reported that she died. Now, that's the update, that she's alive. This is how it looks like now, according to the Ghana Health Service. 3 confirmed cases, 2 casualties, 118 contacts that have been traced, according to the Ghana Health Service now, and what we do have it. And that's how the picture looks like. I'm going to put it on the screen right now so you'll see clearly exactly what's happening with the Marburg virus. So until this weekend, Ghana had not recorded any death case as a result of the monkeypox outbreak, although we do know that about 70% of the cases are in the Greater Accra region. So let's get a bit more on this latest case of death as a result of the monkeypox outbreak. I've been joined on Zoom by Dr. Franklin Esiedu-Bequin. He's the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service. Also, Dr. Joseph Humphrey Kofi-Boni, Senior Research Fellow, Virology Department, Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research. Gentlemen, good evening to you. Thank you for connecting with us on Ghana Tonight. Dr. Esiedu-Bequin, let me start off with you. What's the latest to this death case that we're hearing now, which has been confirmed by you as a result of the monkeypox outbreak in this country?
Let me say that our several system, we have detected and the labs have confirmed about 39 cases of monkeypox in the country. And unfortunately, we've gotten 1 death. Monkeypox is not very uncommon. It's very common in other parts of West Africa, like Nigeria and Cameroon. But I think Ghana, this is the first time that we are confirming cases. And unfortunately, we've got 1 death. The rest of the other 38 cases are mild. So I will say that for now, I will call it monkeypox-related death. We cannot wholly assign the reason why the person died to monkeypox, but because the person did a test and it was positive, you say that fine, he had monkeypox. So it's more of a monkeypox-related death.
I see.
That's what I will say for now.
Right. So you suspect that there could be underlying conditions?
Yeah. I mean, it needs to be investigated, and I think that we may have to possibly do an autopsy or whatever. So you cannot wholly say whether it's due to monkeypox. Fine, there are instances that people die from monkeypox. It's not very common. I think that Nigeria has recorded a few cases this year of death, but it's not typical that you have death, though it can occur. So as I said, the 38 other cases that we have got in country are mild. Typically, monkeypox is self-limited.
I see.
But 1 or 2 cases may die.
Right, but how many contacts have been traced as a result of this death case that you have confirmed?
So I think we are 13. But you see, I don't want to narrow my discussion on this case. To me, we have a challenge that we are trying to address as a country. Monkeypox has actually been declared a public health emergency of international concern. So it's a concern for the country. So it should not be narrowed down to one case. I mean that the issue goes beyond just one person. There are about 70% of the cases that are reported in Greater Accra. So that should be a focus, not one case.
Indeed, I've got to be honest, Dr. McQueen, I appreciate that point, but then again, you know that this development of the death of someone, possibly, now we don't know, as you've said, you are still investigating the real cause of death, possibly as a result of the monkeypox outbreak. The public would be concerned, and so would want to know, for instance, if you have traced any contacts that came, that had any form of association with this person who has died, and what the response mechanism is by the Ghana Health Service as a result of this development. That's a concern. Would you not agree?
Okay, so let me say that for this case, you have identified 13 contacts, and the 13 contacts are all doing well, and none of them have shown any symptoms. So basically, when you have an infectious condition, you identify close persons that are associated with the person. So here there are 13 persons that are associated with this person, and they are all doing well for now.
Okay. Dr. Joseph Humphrey Kofi Bonny, I mean, you're with Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research, and normally you would have these samples come to you, you do the testing before any confirmation is made. Find out from you, first of all, this latest development of a possible death case as a result of the monkeypox, and how especially the public is reacting to this outbreak with 70% of the cases in the Greater Accra region. Dr. Bonny.
So thank you. Certainly, if we hear of death, everybody will be, a bit careful and be taken aback, because death from a possible outbreak is worrisome. But like what Dr. Seydou Queen said, is a related death. So more investigations are being carried out just to find out if there were any other underlying conditions that might have maybe aggravated the situation and maybe led to the death. Yeah, but certainly the public will be a bit concerned if we have had this outbreak for some time. We have had some cases in the country. We've confirmed some, and now we have a death that is related to it. Certainly there will be concern, and there will be a lot of questions being asked, like what we are doing now. So for me, if I'm coming from that aspect, from then I would say that yes, certainly there will be a bit of people being a bit anxious and wanting to know more and what is being done and all that. So that is what I would say to that.
I see. And earlier there were concerns that, it's as if everybody is going about their business as though there is nothing at stake, and not much awareness created about the monkeypox outbreak, for instance, because, look, if there are 70% of the cases in the Greater Accra region, there should be some level of awareness, consciousness on the part of people when we are moving around. Would you agree?
So certainly, like you are saying, we're not hearing this before. So certainly there has been some kind of education and also awareness. If it had not been for that, we wouldn't have been in the first place receiving suspected cases from, all over the country. And like you said, the Greater Accra region, we have had a lot of cases that have been suspected. So there has been some education, awareness, and alert has been sent to all the health facilities to look out for cases that mimic that presentation. So then they'll bring it for us to test to see whether it is there or not. So as for the education, it has been, maybe if we come to talk about the general public, that is where maybe we will be lacking. But if we talk about the health facilities, where people go there to be seen, I think there has been some education. In fact, even Noguchi, which is not a hospital per se, people come here that, I think that I have monkeypox, so can I be tested? Then we will direct them, please go to the hospital. They take the samples that you'll be examined, your sample will be taken there before they bring the sample itself to to be tested at Noguchi, not the human being coming over. So is it that some public awareness that has gone on, so people are aware? Maybe we have to maybe scale it up a little, but I can say that there's some kind of awareness in there, and people are aware of what is going on.
Right. Dr. Seyodo Bekoin, so how is this development going to influence your response mechanism, especially in terms of communication to the public?
Yeah, so thank you very much. I think that, fine, all along we have been looking at COVID-19. Then we had monkeypox, so there was a kind of awareness being created, and then the Marburg came in. So I think there's a challenge which we are working together to see how best we can push the message across, because there's a set of individuals who are all being exposed to all these messages. So it's a challenging situation that we are trying to manage across. We think that we'll continue to improve on it. But as Dr. Bonnie said, some awareness was created, just that the Marburg kind of tried to overshadow it. So now we're going to open up how best we can get the Ghanaian to appreciate Marburg, how best to appreciate COVID, how best to appreciate monkeypox. It's a challenging situation, but we'll see how best we can get it done. As far as possible, Ghana doesn't seem to have so many cases. And what is good for us is that most of these interventions, most of these conditions can be addressed by common interventions. So we see how best we can apply it, like avoiding contact, cuts across all, hand washing with soap and running water, cuts across all. So we'll try and see how best we can use common approaches to address this, all of these conditions for now.
I see, but how challenging has it been for you as a service, Ghana Health Service, communicating or trying to identify the right form of communication to address or create the level of awareness for all these three diseases we're dealing with, talking about COVID, monkeypox, and then the Marburg now?
So what is good for us is that though we have some challenges with communication, I think the surveillance has not changed much, because clearly we have system in place that is able to detect early. I think what we need to do better is how do we push the message across? What are you telling the Ghanaian? And I think that it's good that fine. It's unfortunate that there's a death, but the death alone has heightened the awareness of monkeypox, because in the time past, I think you called me, we were talking about Marburg, now we moved it to monkeypox. So it changes the scenario, but we still push across that we are having three conditions now in country: COVID-19, which is down, which is a bit down now, Marburg, and the monkeypox. But as I said, common interventions cut across. So we'll be pushing on that common interventions that will help us leverage on all of these common, conditions.
Hold on to that conversation there. And Dr. Joseph Humphrey Kofi Bonnie, thank you. And also Dr. Franklin Seyodo Bekoin, Director of Public Health at Ghana Health Service. Thank you very much. So we have confirmation of what the situation is with this related that's monkeypox death case. Is something we're going to keep an eye on in the coming days. But as we do know now, the SIM re-registration exercise date or the deadline has been extended to September 30. A number of things were put out by the Communications and Digitalization Minister, Eslo Owusu-Ekufo, yesterday. And one of it is the claim that it is, in fact, the major issue or the challenge that led to the decision to extend the deadline was as a result of the inability of people to get their Ghana card. Now, take a look at this. As of July 21, yesterday, the number of persons who had registered, number of cards that had been printed, and then also number of cards that had been issued. I wanted to put it on the screen right now where you see what's exactly this is happening. Now, these are the cards that are yet to be allocated as well. And what exactly is happening to the state of affairs as it looks like. This is the Ghana card situation. Number of persons registered, 16.96 million. Number of cards printed, 16.535 million. And then number of cards issued. That's according to the minister, 15.7 million. The cards that are yet to be collected, that's 832,904. That's according to the Minister of Communications and Translation yesterday. I've been joined via Zoom by the Executive Secretary of the National Identification Authority, Professor Ken Atefa. Professor Ken Atefa is joining me on Zoom this evening. Prof, good evening to you. Thank you for connecting with us on Ghana Tonight.
Good evening, sir.
Great.
And I greet your listeners as well and your viewers.
Great. And thank you for, in fact, making the time to speak to us at this time. But first of all, let me ask if these figures put out by the minister is consistent with what you have, that the number of persons who have registered is 16,969,034. The number of cards printed, 16,535,623. And the number of cards that have been issued, 15.7 million. Is this consistent with what the National Identification Authority has?
Thank you very much. That's consistent with what the status quo was at the time she quoted. We've since moved on. We have 17,204,296 enrollments, or number of persons registered as at the 28th of July. We have over 16,554,220 cards printed. We have issued over 15,744,260 cards. And it's important to correct the phraseology used. We don't distribute cards. NI doesn't distribute cards. We issue cards. It's a technical biometric process. You must be physically present to administer your fingerprint to a biometric device, which will then confirm or validate your identity. Then the card is issued to you. Then the card is activated. So if a card is just distributed or printed and given to a person without the person going through that verification, validation process that I have indicated, then the person has not been issued a card, and the card is as good as useless in that technical sense. But the number of cards yet to be issued is 109,960. That means that there are 109,960 cards that have been printed that are available to be issued to the individuals who applied for them, and which, for a number of reasons, and we can explore those reasons, have not yet been issued to those people. I must add very quickly that a card that has been validly, where registration has been validly gone through and the card printed, even if the individual applicant does not physically possess the card, even if the card has not been physically issued to them, if they go through any of our user agencies that have connected with NIA, that on the application of their fingerprint to a verification device, the image of that card can pop up. They can be verified or validated and given a service at the banks. And as I speak, all 25 universal banks in the country have been onboarded to NIA's technical verification platform. And so they can be verified, the telcos, they can be verified, right, because we have transferred data and it's all valid. So that is the current state of affairs, sir.
I see. So the number of cards that have been issued is now beyond the 15.7 million that was put out yesterday.
Yeah, 15.744 million 260, yes.
15.744 260. That's just, yes, just some. So additional 40,000 people have been issued their cards.
As at the 28th of July, yes.
As at the 28th of July. I see.
Yes.
And you say that the cards that are ready, printed, yet to be collected, is now 109,960.
Yet to be
collected. The cards that are printed, ready.
809,960.
809,960. Yes. That's down from the 832,904 as at the 21st of July.
That's right.
I see. So this new September 30th deadline, is it consistent with the plans and schedule of you, the National Education Authority, that by the end of September 30, all the issues that people had with the correction of their names, those who had married and they still had their maiden names on their cards, all of those things would have been corrected before September 30 and nobody would have any issues?
Oh no, it cannot be, and it's actually even an unfair question. And let's take our time and go through that, please. NIA was not set up with a specific deadline, say the 31st of March or the 31st of July or the 30th of September. NIA is an institution set up to exist in perpetuity. What that means is that we are to deliver our mandate pretty much the same way that you have a hospital or a maternity ward, that people go there as and when they need to. The law required NIA to set up, to conduct a mass registration exercise in order to populate the National Identity Database with a critical mass of Ghanaians within a 1 year period. We have done so. We did so between the 29th of April, 2019, but for COVID, we would have finished on the 27th of March, 2020. When COVID abated after the lockdown, we went back and completed the work, and then in June, and then we went back and did a mop-up across the country for the second time. Then we went around the country for the third time and did a special card issuance blitz, so that those who had their cards printed but not issued could go and collect and have their cards issued to them. At that time, we were still operating in the regions and the districts and the registration centers that we operated.
I see.
Keep in mind that during that period, in each region, we would have over 200 registrations. In each district, we would have over 200 registration centers. In a region. Now we have only one office in a region and one office in a district. So instead of 200 registration centers, 7 a district, you have one district office where you can go and collect your card. We now have a situation where the cards that are at the region, and we have 276 district operational offices. Every constituency has an office. Every regional capital has an office. But the number of people in those offices are 5 at the regional office and 4 at the district offices. During mass registration, each center had a minimum of approximately 16 people serving a registration center. Now, and so you can multiply that by, say, 200. Now you have just 4 people per district and 5 people per region. So in terms of human resource, the personnel, it is inadequate to meet the needs that are being, as it were, expected to be met now. We were not set up like that. We were set up to finish mass registration and then to have continuous registrations through the regional and district offices. And that is a scheme prescribed by law, and that is a scheme we are implementing. And if we are doing so in perpetuity, there is no timeline. And the intendment of the law is that people will go to NIA at their leisure and pleasure to go and get registered. And those people will be those who were not captured during the mass registration. And during the mass registration, our target, the board-approved target, was 80% of the population cohort aged 15 and above. That population, by the time that mass registration ended around September 2020, we had in fact registered over 84.3% based on the 2010 population statistics.
I see.
Now that the 2020 population statistics are out, and we know that we are 31 million, and we had used at that time 25 million to do our calculation. It means there's roughly 1 million people we must add to the 2 million. So if you bulk it, we have about roughly 3 million people as at September 2021. As at January 2021, that we had 2022 that we had to cover. With the offices that we have established, knowing the population density in each region and district, knowing the number of persons who have been already registered, knowing the number of cards that have been already printed, the cards that have been issued. We also know how many cards are outstanding in each district, how many blank cards have to be sent to each region. All of these have been meticulously planned. And if the plan is followed, then we will be able to serve the people. Now, you ask about issues about corrections of names and all of that.
Absolutely.
Whether these can be, no, they cannot be done by the 31st of September, if you are coupling that with the continuous registration activities that are also going on. If you are coupling that with the card replacements that are going on. By card replacement, I'm talking of those who have lost their cards or whose cards are damaged and who are seeking a replacement. Then there are those who are updating their records. There is a change in name, the spelling, there is an error on the face of the record, on the face of the card. That must result in the printing of a new card. For all such people, that's a huge volume of work. And some, so if you take, let's say, an office in Binduri or Aburi, we have sent a certain number of stock of blank cards to those offices, knowing the population, knowing what it is that we expect to do there. But if there is an avalanche of demands by people who noticed a year or 2 years ago that there were errors on their cards, misspelling or whatever, but they did not take steps to correct those. And now they all rush to the, let's say, the Aburi or the Binduri office. There is an overwhelm. That was not an expectation that all these people will be served within a month or 2 months.
Right.
So number one, you're going to have a huge crowd of people there, which is what we have experienced, and all the inconveniences that come with it. And then you are also going to have a shortage of blank cards because you are having to serve a larger number of people who were not expected to be served within that that small window of time, and it puts pressure on the applicants themselves and on staff, and of course on resources. So that's the long answer. The short answer is NIA was not designed like that.
Absolutely.
NIA, I keep saying, it's like expecting that a maiden will make a baby 3 times a year just because he's strong. That's not how it works.
I see.
We exist that the teaching will do that.
Great. And I appreciate the detailed explanation that you gave. I asked that question specifically because there's a deadline that has been communicated. That's number one. Secondly, there are people who are encountering these challenges, which you acknowledge, right? And so if and for as long as this Ghana card remains the only source document for the re-registration of the same, if by this said deadline, these people are not able to correct the errors and all the other related issues, they would not be able to go through the registration of their SIM, and they would now be subjected to punitive measures as the minister has announced. So that's why I asked you that question.
Yes, sir. I really appreciate that, and I'm grateful for the question and for the opportunity to answer. But I just want to repeat the assurances and the measures that we have instituted over the period that we are going to maintain and deepen so that we can continue to serve better the people of this country. I just needed to let you and the audience understand that these are the imperatives that hovering over our work. But as I said earlier, we have opened 276 district operational offices and 16 regional offices as by law required. They are providing continuous registration services. The roughly 3 million people who have not enrolled are expected to enroll there. We have also opened additional registration points at various stadia to serve the people who need to be served. Bear in mind, some of these, we had to close down these additional points as soon as the extension was announced in March because people stopped patronizing them. And today, you see that all our registration centers have become virtually ghost centers because, again, people refuse to go and patronize. But towards the September deadline, you would see another avalanche of applicants thronging our offices seeking. Yes, MTN and NIA offices were virtually empty. But today, But we are also in talks with MTN, and by next week or so, we would have at least 10 MTN offices where NIA registration would also be taking place. We will increase the number of registration points so that more and more people will have access.
But Prof, let me find out this quickly. So you've gone through the number of district offices that are operational, the 16 regional offices as well. Yesterday, the Minister of Communications said the major reason for the extension is that a number of people did not have their Ghana card. So, I mean, if all these offices are operational, what is actually leading to this delay in people having access to their Ghana cards? Because that's what the minister said led to this extension.
Well, that's a matter of empirical inquiry. What the minister said is true, that a lot of people don't have their cards. That much is true. But the reason you are, what you are seeking from me is an empirical question, which, for example, you may readily assist us as journalists. The fact of the matter is that people have to be motivated themselves to go out there and do the needful and get a Ghana card. And I've already indicated to you that when the minister announced the extension of the SIM card registration deadline in March, the additional registration centers became ghost registration centers. The NI offices were completely vacated, and patronage went down, and we, by more than over 90%, we had to close down those offices. So it is an empirical question about the attitude of some of us Ghanaians about deadlines and about how, of course, we also allocate our time. And mind you, during the mass registration, we reached a point where people, you go to a registration center and there were no queues. People were not going. Where cards were there, people were not going to collect their cards. Now, we know that people must have their cards. So we are going to implement measures that will allow us, for example, we are at the district and regional offices, where it is feasible to leapfrog into a community that is not a district office, but a lot of people are there and they don't have their cards. We will liaise with the metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives, with the police command to provide us with transportation and security and other appropriate logistical arrangements to see how much we can enter into the communities outside the official prescribed locations to try and issue cards to people. But again, people must be motivated to also meet their end of the bargain to come and get their cards. There were instances where people were demanding that we pay them before they go and get,
Prof, I'm going to ask the last two questions and I'll let you go. So you run a continuous registration process. You don't have a deadline for what you do as an authority, right?
Yes.
And your document, that is the Ghana card which you're issuing to eligible persons, is the source document for an exercise that has a deadline to it. Should we, in fact, what's the relationship between you and the ministry in terms of your operational strategy? Because if the exercise that you are running is continuous, but they have put a deadline to an exercise that we need what you are going to give to us to go through, then how fair is it to the consumer?
Well, sir, with the greatest of respect, the Honorable Minister spoke to the issues you have raised. The Ministry of Communications and Digitalization is under, manages or regulates the NCA, which also regulates the telcos, NCA being the National Communications Authority. They have a different set of imperatives. The National Identification Authority is under the Ministry of the Interior. We are under a different set of imperatives. But the minister was truthful yesterday when she said that there has been significant collaboration and cooperation. There has in fact been continuous engagement since last year. We knew that October 1st would come, 2021, and that this SIM card registration deadline would come in. That is why we started efforts way back, even in June of 2021, to go and do issuance. We set up temporary registration teams to issue the cards, temporary registration teams across the country to go and register new people. That process was frustrated after a month and was abandoned. But since November 3rd, We have been out there doing what it is that we are doing. And I'm saying to you and to our good listeners that we are going to deepen and increase the possibilities within. All of these have budgetary implications. All of these were extra budgetary. They were not planned for, but we're going to do that. We have household registration facility. We have institutional registration facility, and we have premium registration facilities, in addition to the offices that are operational. But we're going to do more. But the expectation, we just have to put it in context. The expectation is not fair that NIA can finish giving every Ghanaian who desires to have a card by the 31st, by the 30th of September. It is not possible to do that, but we will continue to expand the opportunities for those who want to, those who are desirous of getting it before that deadline, to do so. We cannot guarantee that everyone will have it, but we can guarantee that we'll put our best foot forward in order to serve the people as a responsive and responsible state institution. And we'll also continue to collaborate with the Ministry of Communications to explore what other options may be possible in the circumstances.
Professor Kenneth Tefua, thank you so much for your time.
You're most welcome, sir, and good night.
Great. Professor Kenneth Tefua is the Executive Secretary of the National Identification Authority, NIA. So they cannot guarantee, that's what I say, by September 30 that everybody who has to get a Ghana card will get it. But they're going to put measures in place to ensure that that is done. But questions have been raised about the punitive measures attached to this deadline, if that is fair. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us on Ghana Tonight. Welcome back to Ghana Tonight. We're live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. And lots of you sending us comments on the back of what Professor Kenneth Tefua has said. But the National Association of Law Students have raised concerns about the advertised Ghana School of Law entrance exam scheduled for September 24. Now, the students have, among other things, described this illegal requirement, that's how they put it, for candidates to sign an undertaking to cede their right to challenge the results. Now, here's a snapshot of their concerns. I'm going to put it on the screen right now so you follow me closely. Now, first of all, they raised concerns about issues relating to the predetermined number of students for admission in 2022. They say that some 800 students have been predetermined to be admitted. So even if more than 800 students pass the entrance exam, they are mandated, or the school says they are only going to take 800. The second issue is undisclosed pass mark in the advertised 2022 entrance exam. So the issue is that there is no pass mark advertised. So the students don't know what they are really working towards. Third thing, refusal to decentralize the professional law program. That's the third issue that they are raising concerns about. Now, joining me in studio is Wanda Victor Kuto, is the SRC president of the Ghana School of Law, and Asari Hassan is the president of the National Association of Law Students. Gentlemen, good evening. Thank you for joining us this evening in studio. So let me start off with you, Asari. So the three issues I outlined are what you are raising concerns about. That you say there's a predetermined number of students the Ghana School of Law is going to admit.
Yes.
How many are these students as predetermined?
800.
800. And
yes.
which document captures this?
Actually, it's in the budget statement.
It's in the budget?
Yes.
And I'm going to slap that on the screen right now so you see exactly where in the budget that we found out, and 800 in there. Now, have you been engaging in exactly what has been the response by the authorities about this particular set 800 that they put in there?
Actually, it's been something that we've been dealing with over a while. I mean, last year it was stated in there. I think we mentioned it. I think at some point it was 500 and something, and it was later raised. Last 2 years, it came up again. But our problem is, if they predetermine it, then when people or students pass, the number increases, then we are limited to go by the numbers, which is not right. It means that then you are trying to manage the numbers or micromanage the admission, which is not right, because if you put in 800 and 1,600 pass, what do? Are we going to go by the 800? And these are some of the issues that we have when it comes to the predetermined number.
You said that this is something you've been fighting for quite a while now. In fact, it's been increased from 550 to 800.
That was for last year.
That was for last year.
Yes.
So what was the position of the leadership or of the Ghana School of Law then? Because if there's been an increase, the argument would be that then some of the concerns would have taken into consideration.
No, I mean, even to talk about the increase, it was 550, I think, was stated. I don't have the exact number. Then it was increased to 790, the first intake.
Right.
Then we pushed for the 499, who were then admitted, which increased the number from 550 to 1,200 and something. Now, let's use just last year. If you were able to admit 1,200 and something, which were actually the number of students who passed the exams, and you were going to go by the 550, you would have denied over 700 students. And these are the concerns that we are raising. So we shouldn't predetermine the numbers. We should allow people to get in there on merit. If they don't have the space, they should create it. So for us, we think the predetermination actually limits them from doing the right thing.
I see. But for you, Wanda, you are the president of the Students' Representative Council. Yeah. How are you representing these views and concerns, the frustrations they have to the leadership of the School of Law, so that, yes, if the predetermined quota is an unfair measure to the people who would have passed the exams, what's the position of the SRC on this?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good evening to the viewers. I must say that I really do appreciate the concern of my senior Asari, but I must say that respectfully, you see, budgets are estimates. They are not cast in stone. Budgets are estimates. From where I see it, having dealt with the General Legal Council through the Director of Legal Education, we've seen that the General Legal Council is a compassionate body. The General Legal Council is a compassionate body, and I'm happy that he accepted or he alluded to the fact that the 499 were admitted. Initially, when the list came out, the 499 were not part of the admitted students. But having pleaded with the General Legal Council, not just the SRC, members of parliament, the Ghanaian public, we made a plea to the General Legal Council, and they accepted and admitted the 499 students.
That was after a very long period of tussle. I remember that.
As part of the proposal that we made, we proposed new campuses. The SRC proposed UPSA campus, then we proposed the Legon campus. As we speak now, we have new campuses. What this means, or what this suggests, respectfully, is that the General Legal Council is a compassionate body. There is an administrative body that works within the remit of the law. I do not speak for the General Legal Council, but the fact of the matter is that anytime we deal with them, and let me give another scenario. Asari may not be aware. The LPM accounting issue is a very serious matter at the Ghana School of Law. When the result was released last year, some students repeated by virtue of the accounting LPM issue. When the SRC petitioned the General Legal Council through the then Director of Legal Education, it was reviewed. And by virtue of that, some students moved to part 2. They combined LPM and accounting. You do not need to pass. No, this point is very important. You do not need to pass one independently. It's now the cumulative figures.
But you see, the School of Law has been caught up in a whole lot of things. But you see, Wanda, you, the SRC president, you've asked the candidates to sign an undertaking which the High Court has ruled as illegal. Now, are you not encouraging an illegality because there is precedence, there's reference point to this thing that you're asking them to sign?
No, respectfully, I want us to put this in proper context. When your colleague asked me this afternoon, what I said was that the exams is just next month. We do not want the student to lose focus. So while they are prepared, no, we all signed this. I mean, let's face the reality.
But I'm just saying, you are aware that there's actually a ruling about this same undertaking.
Yes, what we are saying is that, respectfully, what we are saying is that, look, what we are saying is that the students, we don't want them to lose focus. The exams is just next month.
No, so are you saying that because of that they should sign this undertaking when a ruling has already... Look, this is a ruling on the screen. The Prince Ganaku and others versus the General Legal Council. In simple terms, quote, per this undertaking, every candidate to the Ghana School of Law is stopped from questioning the decisions of the General Legal Council as regards the published results for the entrance examination. I'm afraid to state that this undertaking is nothing but a forced attempt by the respondents to foreclose accountability on its part, unquote. This is Gifty J. Adult Justice. This ruling on this.
Yes, I mean, it's tried knowledge that the General Legal Council is an administrative body. The General Legal Council does not have absolute powers. The General Legal Council is not above the law. However, we must look at the law in totality. Students have exams to write next month. They will be examined on 6 areas. What do we do?
I see, Hassan.
What do we do? We just have to encourage them that they should not lose focus. That's our concern. But if they go and write and they fail, the pressure will come back to the SRC, just as we did
So
last
you want
year.
them to sign on to this and go and write the exam?
Last week.
Hassan.
I have a problem with some of these reactions. It doesn't come to me easily at all. Now, I want to state some of the things in the undertaking. No remarking of scripts. That's number one.
No remarking.
Yes. No retallying of scores. You cannot see the marking scheme.
No retelling of the scores. You can't see the marking scheme.
You can't see the marking scheme, and you can't see the marked script. And it asks that I undertake to accept without question. Now, what are we trying to achieve with this? Because in the end, he said something that I want to revisit. He said the LPM, when they petitioned, it was reviewed. Here they said you cannot review. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is, it's a human institution, and mistakes are inevitable. So how do you tell me that, one, you won't show me the marking scheme, you are not even stating the mark, you are telling me that I cannot request for a remarking, so when I fail, I failed. I think this is just a way of manipulating the numbers, because this will be an unfair thing on any students who write this exam. Yes, we can talk about the bit about psyching them to stay focused, but I don't think this would help them in any way, no matter how good they are. If they choose to fail them, they'll fail them. Because as of last year, the 499, a student could have had 78% and failed, whereby one who had 50 will pass.
Okay.
Why do we encourage this illegality?
Well, so in the end, finally, so you are with the concerned students. So what are we going to do? I mean, now, because I don't think the General Legal Council has communicated anything contrary to what they intend to do.
I understand,
so what are you
but before that, let me touch on the Ganaku case. The
In a minute.
Ganaku case is a ruling from a high court. Now, this is the painful side. If you go to the administrative body, which is the GLC, the CJ is the chairman of that group. So, for a court to make a declaration and it's not enforced, just because you think we should let it go, I mean, that is unacceptable.
So what are you
now,
going
what
to
we are going to do
yes.
is, all options are on the table right now. We are just calling on Parliament, for example. In fact, we are calling on Parliament to look at the bit about the
quota.
No,
So
the private member bill.
Okay.
If we can facilitate that one quickly,
Right.
I'm sure some of these illegalities would be stopped.
Gentlemen, thank you. And I need to run, unfortunately.
briefly.
My time is up.
Briefly.
In 30 seconds. Yes.
What I just to say that nothing untoward will happen. The students should remain focused and steady for the exam. They'll be examined on 6 areas, and we hope that they will
Wanda
all go
Victor
through- they will all go
Kuto
through
is the
successfully.
president of the Student Representative Council, SRC, of the Ghana School of Law. Asari Hassan is the president of the National Association of Law Students. Joining me in studio. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. My name is Alfred Okanse. On behalf of the research team, thank you for staying with us here on Ghana Tonight. Make a date, same time tomorrow. We have some exclusive detail for you tomorrow at 10 p.m. Do have a good night.